Hey there, everybody. Happy Friday and welcome to Bold Badass Business, where every Friday we bring you stellar badasses in business. And today I am so thrilled to have Vaidya with us. He is a black belt mixed martial art practitioner and teacher. And he is a speaker and an author and has even won a Toastmasters International Award for his speaking. Raja is someone who will share with us how we can stop being whiny white belts and instead be black belts in our businesses and our lives. So I'm really thrilled to have you, Raja. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Barnsley, so much for being here, and you get a victory bell for having us on the day before the Christmas weekend. Everybody wants to take off, but you know what? The people that are serious about trying to build their business, they're always looking for that. What's that one extra thing we can do? What's that one thing that we can learn so that we can continue? And by the way, last night I celebrated 300 interviews in 17 months.
Wow,
So
that's
today makes
amazing.
301. So guess what? I could have taken today off. Nope. Nope. You keep going forward because that's what we as entrepreneurs must do, because you got to shift from a white belt worker and think, how do I become a black belt boss? Well, part of that is you must have that sort of empowerment from within, that you are not afraid of attrition. You know that you're either growing or dying. There's no such thing as like homeostasis. There is something in the human body called homeostasis, but what happens with us as human beings, whether in our job, in our relationships, with our income, once we say, oh, well, that's enough, I'm gonna stop trying. Soon as you stop trying, that's when you start sliding back. And so what I do is I help,
Absolutely.
yeah,
I
that's what
totally
I do.
believe that. And,
Mhm.
what we want to be doing is just doing that one next thing, just that one next thing. Because sometimes, when I work with people, Raja, a lot of times when they
Yeah.
get to me, they're very overwhelmed. They've been in a lot of programs, they've paid a lot of money.
Mhm.
It hasn't worked out for them because they weren't in a program with the right structure and with a really
Mhm.
small group of people and with somebody like me who was not going to let them fall through the cracks, and they're beating themselves up and they're stuck.
They don't need to do that. They don't need to do
No.
that. I mean,
And
look,
here's the
look.
thing I love
Yeah.
doing is like I am so available to them. Oh, and excuse my jingle bells. Okay, everybody, I got jingle bells on. Woo! Let me take them off. Here's the thing is that I am so available to them, Raja, that it's a
Mhm.
matter of what is the one next right thing. And then after that, what is the next one? So when they get in that place of stuckness, we'll do it one step at a time. And it works. It's why I have a 97% success rate with people, because they're not trying to do a million things at once badly, and they're not just sitting there because they're paralyzed because they have so much to do. So, yes, we want to
Try
be
to
taking a step forward, just a little baby step instead of going backwards.
Yeah, Sun Tzu even says that you have to meet the enemy where they are, and I turn that into you have to meet the client where they are. So
Yes.
if you're trying to have them drink from a fire hose, it's not going to work. They're in a vulnerable place in their journey, and
Yeah.
you almost have to spoon feed them, and that's one of the hardest things I've learned as a coach is that you know they're not. I think one of the in the past 40 years teaching in the martial arts, um, I've helped to create thousands of black belts and create that black belt mind shift. And one of the hardest things for me to learn was, and my teacher told me, Raja, they're not you. They're not all in. They're not
Yes.
driven. They're not obsessive. They're not going to come in and train 6 days a week like you.
Yeah.
And when you try to make people into you, it doesn't work. And as I
Yes.
was teaching, one thing you learn as a teacher is that you have to find the right key for the right lock. Every single student is a different learning style. They have a different background. They have different goals. And the best thing is that you know Teddy Roosevelt had said that people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And so
Exactly.
once I shifted into saying, all right, let's talk to the students like they're human beings. What do they want? What do they like to do? I would ask them questions during the stretch. What's your favorite ice cream? What's your favorite cartoon? What's your favorite sport? Does anybody play the piano? Does anybody like to skateboard? Who likes to draw or paint? all of a sudden, then the kids started opening up. And then you start to
Mhm.
see that and you say, oh, I see. So this person doesn't like sparring so much. They would rather do forms. Or this person really likes watching Kung Fu theater on Saturday afternoons like we used to back in the day. And,
Yeah.
you know, and so they love to do, know, weapons and sword fighting and long staff and love to learn all those different tools of the martial arts. So once you figure out who they are, then you can meet them where they are.
Exactly, and when it comes to marketing, I'm a creative marketing specialist, as
Yeah.
you know, and when it comes to marketing, I say to people, "Don't even try to do the things you don't enjoy." I'm not gonna ask you to do the things you don't enjoy. Find the 3, and there are 3 that I always teach people to get to 100K and beyond, but find
Mm-hmm.
the 3 and do them in the way that works for you, that you enjoy, and there is no way you cannot reach it. If you apply consistently, regularly, what you learn, those 3, then and they're the ones you enjoy, there's no way you won't reach your goal. Well, I love what you're doing. I had this image, Raja, when you were talking about asking them what they enjoy while they're doing the exercises in martial arts. I was thinking about when you have your blood drawn. And I know that sounds weird, but
Okay.
when you have your blood drawn, everyone, and if you've got a great nurse who has a lot of experience and they know you're a little squeamish, which is me,
They talk
right?
to you.
Then
Yeah.
they'll just be like, "Well, what are you doing this weekend?" And what's the best restaurant you've been to lately? Or they'll just find something to get your
Yeah.
mind off of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so that you can activate the pleasure parts of your brain instead of being in the state of fear, and freezing in that case. So
Mm-hmm.
I love that. It's a great way to get people to enjoy something that maybe they're not enjoying too much, and
No.
to couple it with talking about what they enjoy. So, Raja, I know today we want to talk about business because we've got so many business owners tuning in, and we've got wannabe business owners who are on their way. Let's call you burgeoning business owners, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want you to stay wannabes. No, 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 no. And I don't want you to have a hobby, right? So I'm really glad you all are tuning in. But we also want to talk about life because business and life are interrelated, aren't they? You know,
Absolutely.
those
Two sides
things
of the
that are
coin.
happening in our personal lives are bleeding over. There's that blood metaphor again. Are bleeding over into our businesses, and what's happening in our businesses, that's bleeding over into our personal lives. So I really see the benefit of having this black belt mindset that you talk about. So let me
Well,
ask you, if there were just one thing that you could share today, and we're going to share more than that, but if there were just one thing that you could tell people about the mind shift
okay.
mastery, what would it be?
Well, when I do a 2 hour like a workshop where I talk about the 5 steps to black belt confidence,
Yep.
and it really is about really step by step trying to figure out what it is that you do. All right, and we'll go through the 5 steps real from a 10,000 foot level, but we'll stick with step one. So number one, as a white belt, you have to decide to change. That's
Mm,
so critical. As an orange belt, step two, you're going to become a you're going to help in an introverted way, because this is generally for a lot of people who are either shy or introverted. And step
mhm.
three, as a green
Okay,
belt,
wait a second. I want to capture
yeah,
this in the chat. So white belt, you
yeah,
have to decide to change, right?
hmm
Orange belt. It's
you're
taking a
going to help in
second.
an
There we
introverted
go.
way.
Orange belt is what? Sorry.
Orange belt is help in an introverted way.
Help in an introverted way.
Yeah. So this is what I call success adjacent. And we won't deep dive into that now, but we're going to help in an introverted way because people don't want to. When we tell somebody, well, I want to be a leader. That's great. There's the mic, and here's 500 people and the vice presidents. But that's not the first step they need. The first step is like, can I help someone on the sidelines first? Can I figure out? Maybe I can plan the lunch. Maybe I can send the email. Maybe I can help with paperwork. Maybe I can help like organize a swag box for the next event. Maybe I can, so give them something that they can get a small win on and
Right.
kind of like dip their toes in the water, and then you start stacking those. So then step
Nice.
three, You start
Mhm.
doing those and you start to stack those wins, you become a reliable resource.
And what belt is that?
That is a green belt.
Green belt
Yeah.
is a
And,
reliable become a reliable resource.
mhm. And step four, you're going to become a blue belt. A blue belt is basically a black belt candidate in our system. So a blue belt is where you start to expand your BS. Now, if anybody's watching the live and can comment, what does expand your BS mean? What is BS? Everyone want to take a guess?
Belief
I'll give you a few
system.
seconds. There you go. You know my mind so well. You can expand your belief system. Because what happens is when you expand your own belief system, guess what happens? Everybody notices and they expand their belief system in you as well. Just like when you throw the rock into a lake, you start to make waves. Those waves go far and beyond what you ever thought possible. And
Mhm.
you don't have to see where they end up. You know because you started with that splash that it creates those waves and they go on to infinity. And then
Beautiful.
brings us to our next step. You become a black belt in your business. You become the black belt boss. And how do you become a black belt boss and a real leader and a real model is that you lead by giving back. Simple as that. Lead by giving back. Now, in like more
Mhm.
recent years, they call that something else. They call that servant leadership. The same
Yes.
thing. You lead by giving back. Because think about any leader that you've ever wanted to follow versus one you had to follow.
Oh
If you
gosh.
follow
Yeah,
somebody you
leaders you
had
have to
to,
follow are dictators.
yeah, they are. And they don't realize this. And
Yes.
those people are managers. They manage resources. They have 10 projects, they have to get 10 people. Okay, simple math. Everybody gets 10%. That is not a leader. A leader is somebody says, you know what, even without the title, I would like to work for them. I like how they treated me and they supported me in my work. I want to work with them on the next project. So ask yourself if you didn't have the title, if people could choose their leaders, would they choose you? And so let's dive back into this because normally this is a 2 hour training. So let's go back to step one. We're going to decide to change. So what is it about making a decision that scares us so much? Can you
It's
imagine?
commitment, right? It's
Hmm.
commitment. Because and this is so interesting, Raja, because
Yeah.
I would say when people say, "I'm lost," all right? "Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm lost." I say, "No, you're not lost. You're uncommitted."
Hmm.
Because when you get committed, you take a bold step and
Oh
it,
yeah.
you
You get
know,
determined. You can't stop me. Doesn't work that way. It's like it's not enough to just say I'm going to do it. It's. I was just had this conversation last night. I had my 300th interview last night live in under 13 months or 17 months, and I had to face my own fear. So I made a choice. I decided to change last year. Excuse me, I'm
bless you.
nursing a sore throat here. Um, Last August 1st, I started that journey. I decided to change. I was so sick and tired of feeling sick and tired about why can't I speak and get my voice out and have my voice have impact? Well, let me practice more. And I have multiple speaker coaches and I train with them. And on top of that, Toastmasters and plus I have a different books, plus an online business. And so all these different things I also wanted to show by example that, that my friends, I'm learning too every single day of my life. I'm always trying to find what is the next thing that I can learn. So when I made that decision to change to say, you know what, I hate doing live interviews because I know I'm going to get stuck in my words. I know that I'm going to stutter, and anybody out there that knows anybody with any sort of a speech fluency or this, but any kind of a stutter that um, you feel trapped in your own body. Not only that, it affects you socially, mentally, physically, yes, because you're kind of grinding the gears in your throat. You're stepping on the gas and brake at the same time.
Mm,
And half the day goes by and you get tired of talking because you've been scratching your throat so much, trying to force words out, and then you stop talking for the rest of the day. So that was my entire life up until about 4 or 5 years ago. So I picked things that I could not talk in. Karate, got really good at that because I didn't have to talk. Singing, I became a classically trained opera singer, and because I did have to talk, I became a cancer scientist and a researcher for the past 25 years. Made multi-billion-dollar drugs: Imbruvica, Zytiga, Darzalex, Carvykti, Teclistamab, multi-billion-dollar drugs that have saved millions of lives. How? By me grinding up the data in the lab, and then somebody else would present my data. And
Mm.
and the story that really there you go. So you can feel the shift there. And what happened about 6 years ago? Me and my partner, who were working on this major project, I'm I designed a new type of cell line, and it was really good. And so we were using that in our next clinical trial. And when we had to present our work after about 9 months of this, um, half the slides in that slide deck were mine.
Mhm.
I didn't get to present too much because the managers thought that, well, you're just going to take too long to present. So I would allow whoever was my partner to present most of it, and I chime in once in a while. She presented the data and didn't put my name on the front slide, so it made it look like
Mm.
I did 5% of the work instead of 50% of the work.
Mm.
Now
Mm-mm-mm.
she got a promotion out of that, and I didn't. So this is what I mean when you decide to change. Sometimes you sit on the nail a little bit too long and you don't move. There's a story about there's a traveler visits a hotel and sees a dog in the corner, and the dog is just wailing in pain, and he gets mad at the person behind the counter, saying, "Is that your dog?" And the manager says, "Yeah." And I said, "Like, why don't you do something about it? The dog's in pain." And the guy says, "You know what? The dog sits there because the sunlight comes in. It's a nice warm spot, but the dog also knows that there's a nail sticking out on the floor." And sometimes we get too comfortable in the sun that we don't realize we need to move to
Yes.
away from our pain.
All right, Roger, let's pause for I wanna pause you for a second because comfort zone is sure death to growth.
Hmm.
We cannot be in comfort zone and have a growth mindset. It is impossible. And, it's so funny because, people say, "Well, you're always learning something new."
Yeah.
My acupuncturist the other day was saying, you just you think of something and you just go do it, Barnsley, and you just are always learning." And I said, "Of course I am, because I want to be the most valuable person I can be for other people around me. Plus, that's one of my values is lifelong learning." And so those of you who are listening, I want you to think about when's the last time that you did something just you've never done before that maybe you wanted to do, you dreamt about. Maybe you wanted to do indoor skydiving, or maybe you wanted to learn to sing, or maybe you wanted to take an improv comedy class. I hear that all the time. And that's one of the ways I love to stretch myself. Because, Raja, I have some anxiety. Like sometimes I am anxious in front of people. I will put that out there for everybody to hear because
Yeah.
folks think I am just absolutely confident. But I will tell you all sometimes every time I speak, and I've spoken for thousands of people in 5 different countries. Every time I have nervousness, and that's okay. It means when you are nervous and you have some fear going on, that you're actually stretching out of your comfort zone. So be thrilled, be happy, be grateful for fear. Thank you, fear, for telling me I'm not staying stuck on the nail and wailing like that poor dog.
Hmm. And you know what else? Like coming from someone who's lived with speech impediment, I can tell you, I was terrified of public speaking, any type of
Yeah,
speaking. Not only
yeah.
that, can you imagine every single situation? Like this year, when I had to order uh, pep, pep, pepperoni pizza for my kids during the Super Bowl, where the Eagles are playing, woo!
Mhm.
Um, and you know, Domino's hung up on me because I was taking too long. So,
Oh, Lord.
this is what I mean, a daily struggle. It's an
Yeah.
hourly struggle for me. So when people say to you, "Oh, well, you're speaking just fine now," yeah, I got my moments, got a few seconds, a few minutes here or there, and then then I struggle again. So one thing I've learned to do is this. Number one is understand that Viktor Frankl in his book talks about how you cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can control your perception of what happens to you.
Exactly.
So that thing that happened to me back in 2017, guess what? It didn't happen to me, it happened for me. Because that made me pivot and I made a choice to change. Notice we're still on that first step. We're deep diving at the first step. Imagine if we were doing
Yeah,
this with
because if
stories.
the first step doesn't
It's so
happen, none of
powerful.
the other steps happen,
That's right.
Raja. If the
Well,
first step doesn't happen, everybody, you're not gonna move. So
yeah,
the first step is really important. And I just want to say something, Raji, as I'm listening to you talk
yeah.
about stuttering, and I just shared about like I have some anxiety, and I think everybody has social anxiety after COVID. I want you all who are listening, I want you to think about what you consider your weakness, or maybe you have ADD, or maybe you have a certain cognitive disorder, you're dyslexic or whatever. Maybe you have arthritis and fibromyalgia and that impacts you. Whatever it is that you have that you consider a disability, what would happen if you considered just exactly what Raja said, that it is not against you, it is for you, it is happening for you.
That's one of my
And
keynotes.
why? Yeah,
I have a keynote specifically called "Flip Your Fear to Your Superpower," and
love it.
and I
Ha.
teach them how to go through that process of doing it. But
Yeah.
let's stay on step one here about when I have students that join my karate school or they join my coaching program. Number one, I say, "Welcome to our coaching family. Welcome to the Vaidya martial arts family." You're joining not just a business. You're joining a tribe. You're joining a culture of success. You're joining a person that wants to guide you and lead you and be the bridge to your success, not do all the work for you, right? So this one thing, keep in mind, nobody will do the work for you. Vince
Ha.
Lombardi says you can coach a lot of things, you cannot coach a desire. So you have to want it. Anything that you want in life, if you are determined to get it, doesn't matter the talent, the money, or the amount of time, you'll get it. You'll find a way. I mean,
And we
I
have to become like little children with that, because do you know when you're a kid and you see something, you're in the store with your mom or your dad and you just pitch a fit. You do not give up. You keep going until you get whatever that thing is. That Pez,
and
that
don't let
Panda
fear get in
Pez.
your way. Think about this. A lot of us don't make that decision. They say that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. But I would like to add to that, the journey of a single step begin with a decision. So you have to
Mhm.
decide to start.
Yeah.
And when you, if you let fear stop you, fear for me, it used to mean false evidence appearing real. I've heard that so many times on Facebook,
Yes.
but then I turned it into something else. Face everything and rise. Because that's the one thing I wasn't doing. I was ashamed of my speech
Face
ending death for so long.
everything and rise. I'm putting that in here. That's truly a gem.
Face
So instead
everything
of
and rise.
face
And you can quote me on that.
everything
Mhm.
and rise. I'm putting it right over in the comments for everybody. What a powerful reframe. A reframe. And this is the thing, the power of reframing is right where it's right up here. We have the power to reframe. We, as you quoted Viktor Frankl, love his message and love the fact that he
Creating a
survived.
statue of him. Did you hear?
He's what?
They're making a statue of him.
Oh,
Apparently,
cool.
there's
I
a
didn't know
foundation
that.
trying to make a big statue of him about the size of the Statue of Liberty.
Oh my lands. Well,
Yeah, I
I
know.
tell you, I think it was him now, maybe wait a second, it wasn't
Yeah,
Viktor Frankl, it was Elie Wiesel who said, but also a survivor of the concentration camps,
yeah.
right? Um, Elie Wiesel said, they asked him, "Well, why do you keep yelling about these things? Why do you keep talking about these injustices? Why do you keep talking about this? And you're not going to change anybody." And his response, and I'm paraphrasing, was,
Yeah.
"I keep yelling so they don't change me."
Hmm.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
We keep speaking our truth. We keep showing up. We take our little steps and little steps and little steps so that we demonstrate our commitment. And here's the other thing, you all, commitment doesn't just you make a decision. You have to make that decision every day you get up again. So you get up and you say, okay, I made that decision. This is why I think in 12-step groups, they say one day at a time. You get up the next day, you got to make the decision. Am I committed to my business? Or am I, for you, Raja, am I committed to speaking every day for 17 months? You make that
Mhm.
decision. Am I committed to staying married? You
Yeah.
know? What are the decisions you're making on a daily basis? And what are the and if you think you're not making decisions, let me just tell you that that's a decision.
There's always something that's going on with your life. I think people don't realize that we make, by the time we get to noon in our day, we probably already made 500 or 1,000 choices.
Yep,
You know,
we sure have.
when to shower, when to wake up, when to walk, which shoe to put on, which shampoo to use. Do we use hair product or not? Do I have my laptop, something in my
Am I
bag?
gonna brush my teeth?
Am I gonna get coffee from Wawa or at work? Do I add two creams and one sugar, or do I want to go for the zero sugar product this time? And then I have a meeting. Should I answer the email first, or should I work on my presentation first? So you don't realize you are a decision making machine, but
Yeah.
sometimes don't allow that to like placate you into just going through the motions of those decisions. What are those decisions going to create in terms of like a trajectory for your life? Because think
Mhm.
about all those choices. I don't regret my life at any point. I've been bullied, I've been beaten up, I've been harassed, there's so many different things that have happened to me in my life because of my speech problems, and
Mhm.
I wouldn't change any of them now looking back because it made me into the person I am today. And I'm powerful now. I just hit my power 300. Now I'm hitting my power 1,000. I'm going to go for 1,000 interviews now. And it can't stop me. And the more you realize that you are powerful beyond measure, don't let anybody else's yardstick undermine you. I think it was Eleanor Roosevelt said that no one can make you feel inferior without your permission.
Exactly. And the other piece of that on a metaphysical level is that when someone gets around you and treats you a certain way, I love this out of the Four Agreements. Don
Yeah.
Miguel Ruiz
Yeah.
says, "No one can ever abuse you more than you abuse yourself." Now
So true.
think about that, right?
Yeah.
You're making me think about something else too, Raja, as you're talking
Sure.
about this. This morning, I was listening to Marissa Peer, who's a
Yeah.
very famous hypnotherapist associated with Mind Valley and that group.
Mhm.
Um, and she was talking about how we have exactly what you and I are talking about, how we have choices that lead to other choices that lead to other choices, and we're making choices all the time, every second of our lives. But instead of looking at, oh, I'm the least favorite child, which evidently I think she was, um, just realize that that is what made you successful because you were determined to show your parents you mattered. And that's the
Well,
thing that gave you such drive. You
you
know,
gotta
I
flip the
s
script on that
Mhm.
programming. It goes. It's sort of like it's sort of like a guerrilla warfare. Back in
Yeah,
Vietnam, uh, armies had to realize that if the other army was bigger and stronger, that means that they were slower and less agile. So that means you were able to move and change tactics faster. If they were
mhm,
more well supplied, that means that they were also
yeah.
heavier and slower. So all these different things, you have to flip that script and like, well, listen, if I'm not the favorite child, guess what? That means that you have more freedom than the other children do.
Exactly. You know what, Raja?
Big
I had a
time.
very absent father, and I used to be very sad about that, and I used to
Yeah,
think, "Oh, how hard that is," and, absolutely, there were moments that I really wanted the protection of a father, all right?
yeah. Hmm.
However, when I
Brilliant.
realized, you know what? Wild Barnsley kick-ass feminist, Barnsley kick-ass outspoken business owner was all born out of
Yeah.
not having that, and that I had freedom. I didn't have to be the way girls were. I didn't have to be, I could be however I wanted to
Oh,
be, and
yeah. And
and
I
it's
grew up with that
all
too.
because of his absence.
Yeah. Yeah, and I grew up with a very traditional Asian household. I was born in India,
Yeah,
but I was raised in America, so I was a child of two cultures, and I always tried to take the best of both. But I was always told, "Oh, sports don't matter, music don't matter." Guess what I did? I got straight A's, and I became a world champion in karate, and
mm,
I became a like nationally ranked singer, and I sang professionally for opera companies in the tri-state area. So I did all those things despite my parents telling me, no, no, don't waste your time with that. You know what? Those were the things I loved. I was so
Yep.
passionate about. And I'm so glad I kept going with karate. And, you know, next year hit 40 years in the martial arts. I become a grandmaster and truly I don't need the title. So I don't ever ask anybody to call me that. Just call me Raja or call me Mr. Vaidya at the karate school if you're one of the kids. But I don't need the titles because it's I think the titles get in the way of us connecting with people. And so I always try to talk to the person rather than the job they are. And I think that kind of breaks down those walls. And then we connect better. Then that way
Mm.
you can find the person behind that wall that they're hiding behind. And then we can help them in the way that they need. Remember what somebody
And,
said?
you know, you and I have had this conversation before,
Yeah.
and I have a different take. Yes, I agree, like, I
Hmm.
am I am definitely I have a PhD of, like, the highest level
Yeah.
of blah, 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 right? And have published in incredible
Oh,
journals
yeah.
and so
And this,
forth. But the thing
nothing
is,
wrong.
I always keep I'm outspoken, but I keep my humility. And
Yeah.
one thing I realized, especially coming as a woman into this and being the first woman PhD in my family, Raja, is
Oh, that's
that
awesome.
I use
Congratulations. You get
yeah,
a big deal for
seriously,
that.
it's not a cousin, it was the second, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I got reunited with her recently. I hadn't seen her in 40 years, and she's
Yeah.
living in Austria, so it was such a gift. I mean, it was sad because it was at the funeral of her parents, right, who both
Mhm.
died during COVID. She had the funeral elsewhere, but then brought it back to where they were from, right, in North
Mhm.
Carolina, in Statesville, North Carolina. But what I wanna say is that, coming from there, many times I had because I was the youngest one when I was in my department, my first academic post out after I'd finished my PhD, I was honeyed and I was treated as less than because of
Yeah.
my age. And I also was not that much older than my students, and I very much insisted on my title. And I
Yeah.
still insist on my title, when I'm presenting, when I'm being presented to someone, obviously you and I, we're gonna call each other Barnsley and Raja, but I insist on it because far too many times people of color and women are
Mhm.
divested of the hard-earned work we have done, and
No,
that
you
is
earned
not
it.
okay.
And
It's a form
and
of
what I refer
racism.
to is that
It's
idea that you're at the supermarket, call me grandmaster, this and that. I'm like, why? Your name is Tom. You know, come on, we're not in the karate school right now. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
So
and that sounds a little weird too because
they need to call you title. Yeah.
it's not like doctor, everybody knows what doctor is, and they're like, "Who grandmaster? Who does he have a cult? What does he do?"
Mhm.
But I believe that what we've worked for, it is our it is our duty and responsibility to use it because we are setting an example. Right now,
Mhm.
you being on the show, having done all these interviews, and this is 301, right? You
This
coming
number
on
301?
here with a speech impediment, quote unquote, and saying, "Fuck that," excuse my French,
That's
"Fuck
right.
that speech impediment because I'm on my 301st interview, thank you very much," right? That's
Yeah.
basically just such a powerful thing in and of itself. It's one of the reasons I have the Bold Badass Business Show is
Yeah.
because I want people to know all the real no bullshit stuff that goes
Yeah.
into business. And so much of it is mind shift. I was gonna say mind shit. It's mind
Yeah.
shit that needs to turn into mind shift.
Yeah. That's why I talk to people all the time, like mind shift happens. And
Yeah.
really is that starting off that first choice, decide to change. When you make that 31,000 miles with that single step, it starts with that first decision to start that step. And
Mhm.
you know, we've been talking a bit about how we transform people, and it's interesting to see that um, a lot of us. Excuse me, my gosh, sorry,
Get
my
some
throat is
water.
holding up.
You need
Yeah,
to
I
get
just don't
some
know.
water, go right ahead.
I
I'm
still
just
I'm
gonna
just
go
trying to
over these 5 things real quickly while you're having a little water and get your throat going.
Right.
We've got up in there it's up in the notes, you all, up in the comments, but,
Yeah.
we're going through the 5 steps here. The 5 steps, and the white belt that we've been talking about extensively is making the decision to change something in our lives, something in our businesses, and without that, nothing else happens. So that's why we're doing such a deep dive with number 1. And then we've got the orange belt, helping in an introverted way, like giving someone a smaller win, something easier, but it's a win. And then stacking those wins so that they become a green belt, which is when they become a reliable resource, knowing they can do it. They've stacked wins. They're able, they're capable. Then a blue belt, you expand your BS, i.e. your belief system, and black belt, you become the black belt boss. And you lead at that point by giving back. You become the go-giver that Bob Berg talks about. So how's your throat now, Raj? Is better?
It'll be all right. I'm surviving.
All
Um,
right.
and the other side of that equation is that I think part of what really changed for me in the past a couple of years is that I finally, when I got my next job after I left my last company for 15 years, I was there getting Encore awards, getting Inspire awards. My speaker conference workshop teaching 300 corporate employees live in a big auditorium. That changed company culture, and I won
Yep.
an Inspire award for that, which is not something that they hand out very often. But I remember at that company just still feeling like I wasn't valued, and I felt like I didn't have a voice there. So my next company where I'm at now, I've been there for just about a year, and I finally selected. Yes, I have a handicap, and I
Mhm.
finally acknowledged it, and finally spoke about it in a way that says, you know what, I got this, and it doesn't bother me, and it shouldn't bother you. Let's move on,
And
and
it
that's it.
doesn't stop me. In fact,
Yeah,
it makes me more
it will never
determined.
stop me now.
I'm
And
actually a better asset because I'm unstoppable.
oh yeah, because
Yeah.
people who have like neurodivergent experiences, they see things in a unique way. And
Yeah.
also, for me, I would say, just from my perspective, a person like me who has learned to suffer and struggle is has a lot more empathy than someone that grew up of easy privilege. So
Mhm.
if you've had to struggle for something and you have to earn
Yep.
something, you're going to understand a lot more people that way. And that's a power thing for a lot of companies talking about. Oh, we want to have uh, uh, cross matrix team, high executive communication. Well, that's exactly what I do because now I understand and I
Mhm.
connect them. And my boss right now, her name is Shelby. She is freaking awesome, and she's a badass boss. Because one thing I noticed about her, and I think that she gets about me. Like we're both big in personal development. So we're always
Mhm.
sharing books with each other. What did you read this week? What did I read this month? And so on top of that, when I asked her when I got hired, why did you hire me? Because I've been in cancer research for 25 years and more, and still going. And I love what I do, but I also love speaking and authoring, and now coaching my clients.
Mhm.
And she said, you know what, Raja, despite what you may be saying, but your communication skills, the way you connect with people, the way you talk to people, and I think a lot of it comes to this, my friends. And this, I think, we can end on shortly, is that God gave us two ears and one mouth. One thing I do more of is I listen more and I talk a little less, and that helps us communicate because then I listen not to answer, but I listen to understand the person so
Mhm.
that I can connect with them in a deeper level. And then then we build that bridge to understanding each other. Because as soon as we make that clarity connection, I say all the time in my coaching, I talk about the four C's, you know, confident conversions to a client connections. And if you can connect with someone and create that clarity so that they understand you exactly what you mean, what's the one thing you're talking about and what you represent, who are you, then all of a sudden you just built a bridge to a new friend. And that's really what it's all about.
And we're all stronger. We're stronger together than we can ever be apart, This is the thing. You know, Raja, I think that your story is so powerful, and by the way, everyone listening, including you, Raja, on here, I did an incredible interview of Leonie Dawson, who's a multi-million dollar Aussiepreneur, mompreneur, award-winning author,
Nice.
etcetera, and she talked about how being neurodivergent is an asset in business.
Oh, big time.
It's so amazing, and also she was so funny, she said, I wouldn't even hire anyone who's not neurodivergent because there is a completely different frame of reference, and people are, for example, so much more open to feedback and
Yeah.
grateful for feedback there aren't the defenses in place that are in place with others. It's just a really interesting interview that I think goes well with what we're talking about today. For those of you who want to
Mhm.
go back and listen, remember everything's on the YouTube channel at Dr. Barnsley Brown. So go back and listen. And it reminds me, that we are all divinely constructed to be just who we are. And the source energy doesn't make trash, There there's no trash here. We aren't trash. We've been made in a particular way so that we can fulfill the calling that we have. And one thing I really stand for you, Raja, I know that you are still working in cancer research, but I've heard you talking about how you want to speak and coach full time. And I'm standing for that. How about everybody else here? Aren't you standing for that? Doesn't he get to be doing this full time? And I know you love your research and you've published and all of that, and it's out there, and then you've got that person stealing it. Yeah, anyway, who you shared with us. She wasn't stealing it, but she
But
just didn't. She forgot to put your name on
we got to
mm,
share the credit. Yeah.
the slides. Oh, by the
Yeah.
way, other scientist friends of mine, very common. This happens.
I know
It's
this happens
really
very common.
annoying.
And
Ah,
when I caught someone at my new company potentially doing that, I called them out as soon as the meeting was over. I said, "Listen,
awesome.
that's my data. I noticed that you didn't show the first slide with my name on it. And one thing I
Mhm,
like to do to make sure that there's no misunderstandings is that
mhm.
we always say who did the work.
Exactly.
Always.
And it's so often, it's like the first author. So often it'll be the graduate student who's done all the grunt work or
Yep.
and then the person who takes credit with the first author is not really the person who did all the work. And this is
No.
this is very important to
Common
stand
research
up for ourselves.
because that scarcity mindset and a lot of the higher ups think that this is what they have to do to get ahead. They need all that data. They need all that
Mm,
research. But here's the problem. You were squashing down the hopes and dreams of the people that actually did the work, and then they're going to continue that vicious cycle. Instead, like I said
yeah.
before, you're not a black belt yet. You have to give back in order to be a black belt. And as a leader and a role model, if you are in charge of a lab, it's your responsibility to uplift those around you. And I talk about the five pillars of my book, where I talk about health, wealth, mindset, faith, and family. Like a rising tide raises all the ships in your life. So if you're raising other people in your life, that's when you look like a real leader. That's
Mhm.
something that managers don't understand yet. Is that it's not about presenting other people's work, taking credit. It is about uplifting those, and then you look like a superior leader. Because for anybody
Yes.
that wants to get ahead, you got to do that. You got
The
to
best
uplift them.
leader creates other leaders. The
Yep,
best leaders create other leaders
indeed.
and pull out the leadership from them. This is absolutely so true. And I think it's really actually a great idea for us to end on. But we haven't really addressed one thing that I think is important, and that is why whining is so destructive. Before we end our interview, because it is. By the way, I just put a really funny thing, Debbie Downer, out on Christmas Eve. I just put it on
Yeah,
my Facebook page because it's so perfect.
I know.
Do not be Debbie Downer, you
Don't be
all.
one. Well. Here's it. This is something which I tell my children all the time. You can either be a problem finder or a problem solver.
You
What are you
can be
doing
a
when you're being a
problem
whiner?
finder or a
You're a
problem
problem solver.
solver. I love that.
So when you're being a white belt whiner, guess what you're doing? You're finding problems and you're not offering a solution. So you're just creating more headache for your boss, more headache for your coworkers, and they don't want to hear you.
Mhm.
They do want to hear you if you are a problem solver. So if you can make that shift from being a problem finder to a problem solver, that is a powerful mind shift. And that is a black belt mind shift. Because the reason why I always tell everybody, everybody needs to get a black belt in some martial arts style. It doesn't have to be mine. It can be any martial arts style. Because that process of becoming a black belt, it breaks down
Mhm.
emotional walls. It breaks down physical. It's almost very spiritual in a way. And people when they reach and attain black belt, you know, one of the hardest things to realize is that The day after you get your black belt, you're still the same person you were before you got your black belt, but people treat you differently because you finally earned that respect. You've crossed the
Mhm.
threshold that people finally say, "Oh, I see them differently." Remember what we said just before getting black belt is expand your belief system. Guess what? You expanded your belief system first, and then other people followed.
I love that. So you've got to expand your belief system about what is possible for you. And then other people will also expand that with you. They will respond to that.
Mhm.
And the energy that we bring to everything is so, so critical. It's why I'm so grateful that I had the car accident. I think I shared with you, and other people have heard me
Yeah,
talk about it,
and
but
I went through
which
that too as
brought
well.
me into Reiki. I mean,
Mm.
it was the thing that you think is, "Oh, it's awful, your car was totaled, and oh my god, you had double whiplash." I was lucky I had you know, my seatbelt on,
Yeah.
or I wouldn't be here today. But
Mhm.
just having that, and it thrust me into a state of needing to experience Reiki, and I would never have been open and receptive to that. And Reiki has allowed me, using this every day on myself for over 30 years, has helped me hone and tone my energy. Because when you think about it, just like with martial arts, when you think about it, what is the thing that speaks volumes about us, Raja? It's not
Mhm.
what comes out of our mouth, it's our presence or lack of that.
Yeah. And the one thing I've learned over the past few years is that everybody has a voice. You have to
Mhm.
believe in yourself first for that voice to come out. And I think for most of my life, I didn't believe that. And it's not
Mm.
until my own personal journey I finally pivoted, and I can forgive my friend for what she did, but I didn't forget, and I decided
Mhm.
to make a change in a positive way to make myself into something more, to face my speech handicap head on and find different ways. So I joined Toastmasters. I started reading books. I hired coaches and gurus, and I started doing masterminds and seminars. And guess what? Every single penny I spent on everything was worth it
Oh,
because
absolutely.
nobody can take that away from me now, and it becomes the new version of me. You evolve as a human being. You evolve as a professional, and you know, even today, I I've been in some groups where people have accused me of saying, "Oh, you're faking your stutter." Oh, really? Okay, thank you. I did a really good. I did a really good job of hiding it today. Then, but so be it. That's okay. Those people are small amount of people that don't realize the struggle. Like I'm walking on a fence right now with my speech, hoping I don't fall off. So meanwhile, people who are speaking normally, they can walk on the asphalt without thinking about balancing or breathing. But I have to do that in order to be able to flow. So that's why you hear my speech cadence. I use a lot more pauses. I use a lot more breathing. I use a lot more extended vowels and changes. Why? Those are my different strategies that I use to try to speak and break different sounds so I can speak more fluently. And you know, that's my way of solving my problem. And it's not easy. And I tell people all the time, if it were easy, everybody would do it. You know?
Absolutely. Well, actually, it's a great metaphor for everyone,
Yeah.
right? It's a great metaphor for everyone because it is just as much those words that come out of our mouth as our presence and as our pauses that make meaning. And, that pregnant pause idea,
Hmm.
we can just be with people. I see this show actually as being with people. And we're not just being with each other here talking, having this conversation, but it's going out. And every time someone watches this, my hope is that you feel like we're in the same room having this conversation, right? And that you matter, and that you're a business badass, right? That's my hope for everyone who listens from here on. This will be out there forevermore, long after we're gone, Raja. Isn't that a
Yeah.
lovely idea? It's like a legacy of bold, badass business that
Yeah.
will set up for other people this choice point of realizing, wow, it's up to me to make that decision. It's up to me to choose to change, which you're talking about. It's up to me to face that handicap, whatever I perceive as my handicap or my disability, and turn it into an ability, right? It's up to me to do that. Well, Raja, this has been so fabulous. And do you have a gift that you'd like to offer our people? We love gifts. We do.
Oh, absolutely, yes. So actually, I'm doing a workshop coming up actually tomorrow. So anybody that is watching that, I put that in the private chat for Barnsley. She can share that with everybody. And there's a big coupon code. It's normally a $97 the workshop. You're going to get $70 off of it. So anybody that
Mhm.
wants to partake of that, you're going to get a significant a discount in a 3-hour hands-on transformative workshop where we're going to break through your self-limiting beliefs in those 5 pillars, and we're going to smash through any of those challenges and obstacles that are holding you back. We're going to launch your 2024 success. Because a lot of us wait too long to, oh, I'm going to make a New Year's a resolution. You know what the best time to do that was? Last month, 6 months ago, and last year. The second best time is on January 1st of the next year. So why wait? Start making a plan to win. It's the same thing I tell my children. I joke that this is all part of the same way that I raise a family is how I raise my clients. It becomes a family. If you don't plan to
Yes,
win, then you plan to fail. So make a plan to win.
exactly.
Click that link and I'll see you Saturday.
So this is tomorrow, and do they need a special discount code or is this the link they need? I just posted it
I've
there.
already attached the a discount code to it with your name, so make sure it says Barnsley at the end of it, so that way
Okay.
you get that discount code already added.
Whoopsie. So I need to all right. So y'all take out the opens in a new tab at the end there because somehow it got in there. Let's see. Let me see if I can post this. I just want to get it right for everybody. I'm having to go over to private chat. Let's see if I can pull that out and oh no, why is it doing it that way? Well, let's try one more time. And uh can they also is there a place wait,
Mhm.
here we go. Private chat. Save link as. Is there a place, Raja? All right, that's not going to work out right now. Um, hmm, okay, I'm getting some dingies here. All right. So is there a
Okay.
way that they can go to a website and just find out because those people who want to come in the future who maybe haven't heard this today, I'm sure you're going to be having more of them, right? So what's your
Oh,
website?
definitely
And
for
let's
sure.
give them
So my website is right behind me, victorymindsetacademy.com, victorymindsetacademy.com. That's it. Go
perfect.
there.
So go to victorymindsetacademy.com and you'll be able to find out what Raja's going to be doing if you can't make it tomorrow. And I really
Yeah,
appreciate you sharing that. So basically, they're getting a $97 seminar for 27. Is that right?
that's right.
That's fabulous. You all jump on it. And it's a great time to do this because we're at the solstice. And this is a wonderful time to look and release what isn't working and, what you don't want and really create space for what you do want. And it sounds like that's going to be
Yeah.
a wonderful seminar
Let's
tomorrow.
release that
And you
into
all,
trauma of the heart this year. Really move forward.
yeah. So you all also remember you can go to spirited-solutions.com, spirited-solutions.com, grab my complimentary ebook, How to Overcome Overwhelm in 7 Easy Steps, which will help you get out of the drudgery of daily life and find 2 or more hours every day for who and what you love. And that will give you time for these things that you think you don't have time to do, such as opera singing or improv
Mhm.
comedy. And everybody,
Oh,
make sure
amazing.
that you come back every Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, right here to enjoy bold, badass business. We have the best. I'm convinced we have the best guests ever. And Raja, thank you for being one of them.
Thank you so much, Dr. Marsley. And truly, I respect and appreciate you. Thank you so much. You got to ring the victory bell. And truly, you made you made a victory, the mind shift in your clients as well. So, like, I applaud you for that too.
All right, everybody. Next week, Bold Badass Business, and see you there.